Order, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but Juves, Order, looking to get lucky tonight. This is an exciting start for the team, and really, the real hero here is you as a talent scout.
I mean, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but it just seems like that Jake just consistently signs players 1 year after I scout them. And Jake, I get them during their infancy phase where they're toddlers and they're learning to walk, and Jake gets them to being the grown men that they are. So there's one player that I want to talk about in this series, and you have to say, Hayri, right now, and obviously it's going to be a little bit of recency bias in terms of playoffs, but Hayri for me is probably the best mid laner in the league by far. At the moment in terms of playoff form. His Flame Horizon in Claire, up 30 or 40 CS in lane. Yes, there was a few botched plays from the Chiefs, but Hayri was able to keep his composure, not burn his teleport, not overreact and compensate. Because you can compensate in these games, right? And just try and match pace for pace, whatever the enemy is doing, whatever the Chiefs are doing. But Hayri's smart enough in this series to sit in his lane, get his own individual lead, and then when it comes to team fighting, he's just the raid boss.
Yeah, he certainly is, and I think that on the flip side, this is a role that Claire used to play on all of his teams. You think about Claire when he was on Legacy and he was having these pop-off Zoe performances. You think of Claire on the Chiefs when he's playing things like Syndra and Victor. He was normally the stay-at-home mid laner that just did not move around the map. He was like a turret in the mid lane. He would just build himself an individual lead, then he would be able to take over a game. And I feel like in the last couple of weeks, we've seen Claire become not like beholden to Croc, but he is like they're playing for Croc at the moment. They're playing Croc style League of Legends, and Croc is a really good jungler. So I think that you need to be able to do that, but I don't think that you can afford to ignore control mage players. And it's why Swiffer always used to have a good job against players like this as well. Because if you're a control mage player, and Jews, you know the ones that where they get prio, and you're like, hey, let's invade Red Buff together, and they're already at your chickens camp, stealing your own chickens, and you're just like, all right, cool, well, I guess, I'll just give up everything for you then, take the wolf camp as well on the next clear, but they're the kind of players...
As long as you got 10 CS per minute.
Yeah, exactly. 10 CS per minute player, get to the late game team fight and actually be able to take over. And I think the difference between Harry now and Harry 3 weeks ago, when maybe Juves and I would have been a little bit more critical of the kid, is that he would make mistakes in a lot of late games. Before this playoffs. He would get a lead, but he would throw it away at an 18-minute dragon fight or something like that. But at the moment, he just seems a little bit more composed, a little bit more calm. Credit to the veterans of Order for being able to rein him in.
I would say that Hayri's main problem for me was that he wasn't having the team fight or game impact that his resources were, that the resource or that the CS or that his champion was demanding. But now we're actually seeing, and this is the maturity, and this has happened to players like Ryoma, like FBI, the players that have gone overseas and done well for Oceanic League of Legends. Hayri's kind of in the same trajectory and footsteps as them, because I've always thought of him as being this mechanical kind of really gifted, talented kid. And I was just waiting for him to have that big, stamp of authority on a really big game. And he's done that on almost every single game this gauntlet, even in games that they've lost. And so... for me, I'm excited about the trajectory of Harry and where this leaves him and, where this puts Order in just this series.
And I think on the flip side, another player that we've said can do that for the Chiefs is actually Katsuri. And I know that we were on the last Chiefs game when they were playing against Direwolves, and I was pretty critical of Katsuri in that series as well. But I feel like Katsuri is majority of the Chiefs team fighting prowess. The way the Chiefs team fight is that Claire and Thien and Croc come off all these flanks, and Katsuri is always the last man in, but he always waits out enough cooldowns that he's just completely safe and then is able to just mow people down. And what I've seen lately is Katsuri is a lot more rushed to get into the fights. A lot of the fights are starting off the back of Katsuri flashing away. He threw 2 Ash arrows in the mid lane that didn't hit. I feel like for Chiefs to be the most effective, Claire and Thien must start the fights, and then Katsuri has to be the last AD carry to enter the fight, because otherwise he just doesn't get the damage off that's required for them to be able to win.
Spawn, you mentioned a bit earlier about the idea that Chiefs look like they've gone through a bit of a phase where it's not a Claire-centered team, it's now a Croc-centered team. They're playing around him. How difficult is it for a team to transition between having sort of a different primary player, and particularly this late in a split?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, as someone that played jungle 8 years ago, and Juice played it a little bit more recent than me, and I now have a jungler that likes to play carry jungles on my team, playing around jungle sucks. I'm just going to be real. And I think that people like Jews identified it really early in their career. I always respected Carbon for being able to do it as well. And what happens is if you make people play around you, you give up more resources because of the way that Riot just keeps bashing the junglers up. Like, as soon as jungle's too strong, Riot just nerf the role. Like, Riot have come out and clearly stated, we do not want this to be a carry role. And the proof is just in the pudding, because every single time there is jungle in our money in our camps, it just gets taken out again. So I just think, like, I would say Karthus is the only hard carry jungler you can play. Like,
Nidalee, Karthus, Graves.
Yeah, I feel like you have to be better at, like, so I always do this thing, like an OP champion, like I think, for example, Ezreal is OP as an 80 carry if you get him to 2 items, because you can play him as a 7 and his job is so easy. I feel like Nidalee and Graves, you have to play like a 10 out of 10 to carry on those champions. Whereas Karthus, I feel like you can actually play a 7. So you can be a carry jungler if you are insanely good at it, but I just feel you have to over-index as opposed to other roles being able to carry. Like, what did Harry do this game, apart from hit creeps really well and land a couple of shockwaves?
Just had a stable game.
Yeah, exactly right. Junglers can't have a stable game and carry, I don't think. And I mean, I always obviously talk about it a lot because I liked Parbu style of jungling. If I was playing at the moment, like, let's pretend that I actually had opposable thumbs and I could play the game at a high level, I would be playing like Set, Lee Sin, Elise kind of champions. I think that the Nidalee, Graves, the Lilias take a lot to get out of them at the moment.
Alrighty, well, we'll see what Chiefs can do to get back into this series as we head into game number 2. But before we get there, EPOS want to get in your ears with their headset. All you need to do to get your hands on one of 2 EPOS GSP 600 gaming headsets is tell us your most out-of-this-world League of Legends Grand Final moment. We've had out-of-this-world gaming experiences, we've had out-of-this-world OPL experiences. It's now the big one. It is the out-of-this-world League of Legends Grand Final moment. Any Grand Final, from Worlds all the way down to the home tournament that you run with your mates. Share your story by replying to the @OPL Twitter competition post that we've got on Twitter. We'll announce the winners live on the OPL. We'll pick 2 of them, and they will each get a GSP 600 headset thanks to EPOS. We've gone through spawns. Juice, have we done your League of Legends Grand Final moment?
Yeah, it was when I flamed myself, and then you guys got upset for me flaming myself.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
do you want another chance to fix that?
My Grand Final moment would just be when we beat the Chiefs. They were a team that never got beaten before in the OPL before, I think, or they were always in the final at the very least. And we were like, they came back from a North American boot camp, and we were like, oh damn, we have to verse them. Okay, unlucky, but we ended up beating them, qualified for Roof Rivals, and it was just a highlight in my career for sure.
There you go. Well, if you could beat that and you don't have anything self-deprecating to say about Jews, then enter our competition and you're in for a chance to win. Speaking of competitions, there's only one competition that matters. This might be heading towards the OPL Grand Final, but we're also heading towards the LCK Grand Final, of course, where we pick the OPL's pick for the best champion in League of Legends. We've been powering through these, and I applaud ourselves for how quickly we're getting through this nightmare segment that never seems to end. But let's get back into it as we enter the LCK.
Who's ready to wreck it?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Prepare for battle.
Just so many gloves. Just so many gloves everywhere. All right. Caitlyn versus Graves. I'm not even going to have any preamble. We're just into it.
Jake?
I like Malcolm Graves. I'm just a huge Graves fan. We were talking about this. He has some of the best old school like animation cancels and stuff like that. And he's just a badass. But give him back his cigar, right? Like, come on.
Wait, who's Malcolm Graves?
That's Graves' name.
That's his name.
Oh, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Malcolm Graves too then.
He's got
Plus he's the outlaw.
He's got an awesome last name and a terrible first name. That's why he's always just known as Graves.
Wait, that's crazy. I actually didn't know that. That's wild. I need to do some investigating champions laws.
What's Caitlyn's last name? I'm going to look it up.
I have no idea.
Is this interesting content?
Caitlyn
No.
headshot.
I think we're meant to go through these. I think Graves wins. On to the next one.
Hang on. Googling. Looking.
Caitlyn says
It's look, they're not wrong. I don't see anything other than no, it's just Caitlyn.
You don't
It's
need
just
a
Caitlyn.
last name. You know,
She's
sometimes
like Moses or Madonna.
Yeah.
Well
Graves.
done. All right. Who did we vote for? We voted
Graves.
for Graves. Chat says Caitlyn 71%, but you can't trust chat, so well done, Graves. I'll tell you what, the iconic League of Legends ladies have just not had a good showing in the LCK over the last.
Well, no, because when
24
I
hours.
was all I was doing was voting Girl Champs, one of the broadcasts, and people were flaming me, calling me a simp. So
Was that Bill Shorten called you that? Was that what that was?
What's that?
It was just a very fine moment in Australian political discourse. All right, matchup number 2. It's Heimerdinger versus Jinx.
Ooh, get
Heimerdinger.
Jinxed.
Jinx.
I'm a huge, like, I think I said it last time that I will vote for the exact same reason because I'm consistent in my policy. And I think that Get Jinxed was the best release of a champion ever.
I was going to go vote Jinx just because she's had some really cool cinematics and videos and music videos and stuff.
Yeah, we're the same thing then. Like, how can you compete with that? Plus, she got crazy eyes. I love champions with crazy eyes.
Yeah.
And
There's
Jinx would
something-
be, like, imagine going to the peg leg with Jinx.
Why do you filter 90% of your LCK answers through the lens of the peg leg?
Because that's just the place to be if you're from Riot Games.
There you go. Well, Jinx is running away with it in the chat as well. 70% of the vote. I would have voted for Heimerdinger because I feel like I want to reward a scientist. I want to reward a person of intellect and not just someone who wanders around with a massive gun. But
He
that's
also
fine.
has
Let's focus.
great lines. If you can't heal him or cure him, you bury him.
I mean, that's objectively funny. That's a great line. All right, we didn't exactly power through it, but we got through 2, which means we'll come back to this after the next
I love
game.
how they're like, by the way, people are like, there are 8. You can power through 8. If you can get through all 8, Nick, we've got the graphic guy like tuned up, and Nick's like, oh yeah, we'll see what we can do. 2.
2. That's okay. We've got another 6 to go after the next game, so let's jump into game number 2. Can Chiefs get the train back on the track, or are Order finally going to take it away and get into a grand final again for their chance to take out that top spot? Let's find out. Game number 2 and the Macca's Champ Select.
The pressure is on, they know it, we know it, and everybody at home is knowing it right now. It's Draku just jumps on in, a 3-man face break, and they can't do much about that. Add insult to injury and pop a Requiem and take out Ash. Vital is gone, he's the fed one, but he can't contribute anymore to this team fight. And the Chiefs will just take you down one by one, systematic but confidence exuding, so strong. People were critical of Draku coming into this role. Could he match that of Korea CK? He was fantastic since joining the team. You talk about the Diables not rising up to the occasion here, but Draku, he certainly is.
You know, let's just go for a 10-man trade and buy ourselves a bit more time.
Yeah, good point.
This is double 8.
That's the full combo. Everybody's flashing on Cordon Therese right now. He receives all the tools in the arsenal that Legacy have to complement him. Protect the Caitlyn, protect the AD carry, and he is protected, and he'll reward you quite handily. 1 and 2, they find them easily. They'll get a third, he'll get a triple, and they'll take you down. There are the kills you asked for, and he'll deliver. The big man for the occasion shows up. This is Legacy ready for playoffs. They've had weeks to prepare, and a night to watch, and they'll lead this Best of 5 series. And welcome back to game number 2 of this semi-final. It's a best of 5 of Order taking game number 1. We'll get to see now with them on blue side what it can do into the Chiefs. They'll be looking to try and get some of that momentum back in their favor. We obviously didn't get to see what the champ select was last time around, but we did see a few crucial picks, most notably in the jungle and in the top lane. Going to be interesting to see if the focus will continue to be the physical bruiser style of play, or if we will, as the series progresses, go back to the more farm AP oriented style.
Yeah, now we didn't get to see the order of these bans as well, Skimmy, so while we are tracking what type of style junglers will get, you can note already that Order have chosen to blue side ban the Nidalee. So I think it's pretty clear to me at this point that the whole game plan of Order has never really relied on the Nidalee existing, but if you give them Nidalee for free, right, when you don't play it yourself, of course he's going to go for the pick. We know that Croc is a prolific Nidalee player. It's actually most often banned against him than it is only through the playoffs. Of course, that's a Pentanet.gg skewed statistic, but nevertheless, it's his most played. It's also banned against him 60% of the time. So take that for what it's worth. Croc loves the Nidalee.
Certainly does. And another player that loves the Zash that's now been done away will be Katsuri. His last 6 games now have been on the Zash. He hasn't really had any emphasis shown his way as to, well, play something else now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do decide to change up his champion pool as a result of that. Well, we know that he loves to go for those engaging champions, the ones that have CC in their arsenal. We've seen the likes of Sinner and Varus pop off. Varus probably very low on that priority now with the current patch, but we might see a contest take place for the Ezreal, knowing that the Caitlyn's been banned away as well.
Yeah, looking at the response here from the side of the Chiefs, the Lilia is something that they used yesterday as a flex. This Senna first pick, however, does make me think they'd be considering something like the LEC team compositions that we've seen. The reason that I bring that up is because Tien has also played the Hecarim. He did that yesterday in the best of 5 series with one of their last games with the victory that they found there. So if they were going to go for this composition, now's as good a time as any to potentially flex that Hecarim, knowing his matchup. But Lilia, for the exact same reasons, Skimmy, is just as viable. You got the Renekton matchup that you could follow around the Rift.
Yep, not going to make it too obvious now because we know it is a flex pick. What was once upon a time just the go-to to say it's a jungle player or a jungle matchup. Now we know that this team in particular, the Chiefs, love to play it in the top side of their draft as well. So that'll keep all the guessing, but again, to go for the first pick on this Renekton, we saw that despite Swiper having that pressure shown his way, still was very happy, still was able to play his style of game, or was able to transition into those team fights with the Black Cleaver and emit a ton of pressure and chaos.
So wondering if it's going to be the Bard, well, it's not obviously going to be the Bard, but the Bard style support, something that can be ranged and roaming, maybe an enchanter like the Karma available here for Ayla, is not going to be the pick this time. So Order have chosen to go for the Ezreal and the Azir, once again putting a lot of the eggs into the Hayri basket, for good reason, because he was just such a solid pick for them in the mid lane last game. So right now, it is going to be blind matchup. You could consider, yeah, this is a possibility. We saw this from Clay yesterday in this exact matchup versus Get Back. The LeBlanc was also a possibility as well if he wanted to play for a strong mid side, if you want to counter-pick jungle for Croc, but that's not going to happen this time. They're going to match roles and go into the next ban phase.
They certainly are, and it's going to be an interesting one because I like the fact that Harry continues to get these champions in their mid lane that just control the style of these team fights. Right, we talk about shockwaves, we talk about Emperor's Divides. He can really determine how a fight will go in their favor, the sort of terms that are set to start things off with. And we have seen that Claire yesterday loves to go for the assassin divers as well. We know once upon a time it was the Diana Akali link up between himself and Tien. They find a target, you're as good as gone. We're not obviously going to see that here today as it stands. But what I am quite excited for is the fact that Set has been banned away, because every single time we see Katsuri get his hands on a Senna, that has to be the immediate go-to pick for Draku.
Yeah, and you don't want to give Draku Set, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It seems like he's just the most comfortable on the pick and has been team fighting like a beast, particularly yesterday. So yeah, make sure you get Draku off his Set. Now that does, of course, open up something like a Nautilus as a free pick if you would like. Both sides of the map could consider that one. We've also seen Nautilus is farming if the Sennas are starving. It's very hard to say exactly what will happen, but most likely will be Katsuri farming with his Glacial Augment Senna, and we just go for a tanky support coupled with it.
Yeah, a few variations to consider. Maokai, for instance, Brom, Nautilus, to say the least. Yet to find a composition where the Yuumi could really slot in so far. We saw obviously Penstet put a big emphasis on removing the Yuumi yesterday. And we know that is a champion that Draco initially, when he changed from top lane into support, was quite fond of. So obviously not going to be available here today in this particular draft, but is one to keep your eyes on as we get to see what he decides to go for in this situation. It's going to be the Volley Bear, which would mean that you'd, as a betting man, suggested that Lydia is still looking to go topside.
Yep, definitely possible. Of course, what you saw here from the Chiefs was the volley lock-in with a Jax band on the other side of the coin. That's very quick here from the side of Order, I will say, in response to that volley lock-in. We didn't know exactly what role that was going to be in Skimmy, but with no hesitations, they're comfortable in every matchup, it seems. And blind picking a Trundle, working nicely with an Ezreal and an Azir-style composition, being able to lock people down by having the pillar. And they've gone for the Braum with it. So Ezreal Braum, actually a really powerful 2v2 bot lane. You've got kill threat if the Trundle's going to be moving to that side of the map. And this really does mean to me, Order, first of all, good stock standard draft, good front-to-back team fighting coming out of them as well. Fantastic scaling with good bridging champions to get everyone to exactly where they need to be. It just makes a lot of sense, right? It's a good blue side draft, and you can't really complain with what they have. The Chiefs on the other side, they're going to last pick that Lux, and now they're going to have a Senna Lux bot lane, two ranged champions that are reasonably fragile against the Ezreal and the Braum. that does open up a lot of potential kill threat, especially if neither of them are going to be considering the cleanse against the Braum. And Trundle being down there could be devastating for them. However, if they're able to survive, they prosper, they're given space by someone like Croc on the bottom side of the map or Claire winning mid, then they could have a field day and just take you apart piece by piece.
I mean, they certainly could, and you raised some fantastic points, right? What Order have online so far is a lot of Bruiser boys, a lot of members that are going to be acting as a front wall, right? The ability for them to push on forward, soak up a lot of damage, and allow their nimble members of the Azir and Ezreal to dance around the landscape of things and sort of find fights that work in their favor. The Trundle, obviously, the Subjugate is going to deny the one true tank that the Chiefs have with that Volibear. Otherwise, they are very squishy. They have a ton of CC, but need to make sure that these fights are quick and decisive. Otherwise, I don't see the health pools for them to survive.
Yeah, the health is going to be something that we definitely will be struggling with if they start falling behind. I feel like across the board here from the Chiefs as well, the difficulty and execution for their composition compared to Order is a lot higher. But one thing that you can say towards those champions is they do seem to be extremely proficient on the picks individually.
Yeah.
Does that mean they can team fight successfully against Order's composition? Probably not. Not unless they start to get snowballing. And a lot of this, to me, comes down to Croc once again. He's on a ganking jungler. He has a lot of potential to influence the map. Croc needs to get it done early, or the Chiefs may struggle in this one.
Certainly may do. I'm going to see exactly what happens in this second game of the night. It's a semi-final, the victor of which will be booking themselves into that all-important grand final. That chance not only for domestic glory, but a chance to represent the region at the internationals. The World Championships, a tournament coveted by many, meaning so much for players from a smaller region like our own. So we'll get to see what happens here. Order find themselves comfort, but the Chiefs do, in similar fashion, find comfort as well. It feels very much around the keyword of snowballing.
And so far, no crazy level 1 shenanigans. Game number 1 was a double invade and a vertical jungle clear, which you would say is kind of just standard. You wait to see where your opponents are going. If you don't want to fight them, you see them invade, you say, okay, we'll swap. This time around, Only's going to be starting at the red buff with a leash from his bottom lane. Chiefs are going to be starting on the same side of the rift here. Croc is without that leash. And a double ranged bottom lane of a Lux and a Senna definitely don't want to leash if they can help it. But Volley going for that solo clear does mean he'll lose a fair bit of HP going for the blue buff. Probably just going to, as you can tell, of course, by his itemization choice as well, going to go for the solo camp clear. And we'll probably be looking towards topside to have most of his influence early.
Certainly will, as we're going to see what we thought would definitely be a possibility here with the Renekton being shifted through to the mid lane. We've seen Swiper do it before. They felt quite comfortable. We thought at one point that Harry was quite keen for a role swap as well. You know, I can play mid, I can play top, I'll go wherever need be. Just going to make it a little bit easier to match into this Lilia, which Renekton was having a bit of a tough time going into.
Well, it seems like so far still having a tough time up there. Of course, 10 on the Lilia is able to be a bit more bullish. Nice damage will come down.
Let's give it a strength of these two. A ton of CC between the two of them. The root into the binding. And the shielding to then turn things around, obviously with the sustain as well. So, whilst they might be a little bit less at damage, they will have the ability to make sure that if they find you, you will fall on down, which is going to be exceptional when Croc perhaps pokes his head into the bottom side of the map.
Maybe a little bit unfortunate with the layering of their CC, however, both stuns thrown at the same time does reduce a bit of their trade potential. Claire just going to have a crack in mid lane as well. But realistically, just a fairly even trade overall. Potion advantage here for Claire, though, as he has gone for the fleet footwork and is looking to heal from his auto attacks. And our eyes will drift back towards the jungle roll once again to see what they're up to, because right now both once again on the same side of the rift. With a potential influence available here. Only invading wouldn't find anything, so I think it's just going to be about who gets what Scuttle Crab and can use that as a platform to gank lanes.
Certainly is going to be interesting because they're going to be revealed here by Vision. Yes, you picked up the Scuttle, but we've got wards down there as well. And it's worth noting the amount of flexibility that the Chiefs were feigning in their draft. We discussed the fact that Lilia can be played in the jungle, but Croc has not showcased that he wants to play it there just yet, keeping Order guessing as to what they're really going to be seeing as their lane assignments. Be careful here, Katsuri. Yep, going to be forced to flash away from what was the passive applied by the Braum. And that could pay off big time here because both those bot laners on the side of Chiefs are very mobile.
Yeah, nice little catch out there from Order. Of course, we already noted this during the draft phase, but no cleanse there for Katsuri as he's gone for the heal. Means that he has to be safe and flash use the longest cooldown that he has of both summoner spells there as well, just to try and keep himself healthy and alive in that laning phase. And, you know, Dragku was off placing wards, so Katsuri caught out of position at the wrong time, definitely at the wrong place, of course, and is punished for it. Means that, of course, you could look towards bottom lane now. We already spoke about the potential that Only has for a bot lane gank with an Ez Braum. Now that Katsuri has no flash, Braum could very easily Q flash straight onto their heads and look for a fight, but right now it's the Chiefs jungler that's here.
Yep, Only is pathing away right now. The binding goes out, looking for a potential opportunity for them to fight. No CC landed just yet by the Chiefs. Croc waiting very patiently in the river, still waiting. See if there's any kind of response here from Order.
That's big, though. You can see the wave that's building up.
Oh, there's the flash one. There's the binding. Here comes Croc. And just like that, they don't mess around. When the Chiefs want to go for blood, they'll find it. And just like that, that is first blood.
And truthfully, if I was Croc, I would maybe even consider sitting in that tri-bush again. The way that wave is built up, they could look to punish on the teleport.
Oh. It doesn't necessarily only happen in the top lane. It can happen bot lane as well. He TP's in and instantly falls the flash away. And what was a weakness exposed in this center has now been undone on this Ezreal. Here's Only, but the road cone will force them to just back away to the safety of their turret.
The only tragedy there is that the Chiefs had two choices after that kill, right? They could reset, they could make sure that the wave pushing towards them forces a teleport out of rare to get it into the turret, and they'll catch majority of the wave, maybe lose a plate. They could stay, and they could try and cheese the kill knowing that he has to teleport. They kind of choose both. So at the same time, you know, they were looking to base. They see the teleport and say, oh, we can catch this. But unfortunately for them, of course, they're not able to find that kill. So they delay their own reset a little bit here. As we are, of course, paused right now. Katsuri is going to have to stay under that turret, and he's going to have to clear the wave. And tragically there for the Chiefs, what could have been a 2-for-1 there, just catching out aggression from Rare, was not the case.
Certainly was, and now that means that the bot lane is a big point of interest, as the only summoners that will remain will be Ayla's Braum. He will still have the ability to flash stun and ensure that somebody, if a gank were to come that way, is locked down to try and even out those odds. But this is a bit of a different change of pace, really, for these bot lanes, because we've seen a lot of the emphasis go around the top side. I think, really, for the side of Chiefs, it was a case of investing into Swiper, realizing that despite putting him down, it still didn't really change the overall outcome. He was still able to do so much in those subsequent team fights. Let's get bot lane online, you know. Katsuri has been that quite achieve, as you mentioned, in Game 1. Give him a few extra resources. Make sure that the center can explode into the game, knows that it can infinitely scale, and if it gets ahead of an Ezreal that wants that cheap item build, then you know, you're looking to infinitely scale, but you're making sure that Ezreal has no real influence on the map until, say, 25 minutes.
Yeah, and I think we've already seen the recipe for taking down Order as well, and a lot of that does seem like if you can catch Rare out of position, you know, sitting in bot lane by himself, just trying to stay relevant in the game while Ayla starts to roam, you can catch him out of position and break games open. It's happened multiple times here against Order in the very few defeats that they do have as a good way to punish them. So if you're able to just get ahead in that bottom lane almost organically in the 2v2, and they were already trading pretty well without the jungle involvement, then that's something you could definitely look at. And right now that draft is very much catered towards that. And this is basically what I was saying before, Skibby. Before game number 1, when you look at both teams, I think a lot of the game was determined through a potential support difference, right? Dragku, much more of a conventional sit in lane and team fight style player. Ayla, much more of the wild card. And if you're able to keep him in lane, I think it's a lot easier to just play the game in general against Order.
It certainly is, and definitely an area of the map that we've liked to see more explosive natures come out of, because we know they had the mechanics to boot, we know they had the ability to utilize the advantages that are given to them, but it hasn't necessarily always been the case. Just a quick reminder, we are in a technical pause at the moment. The ref has just reminded us that the issue has been resolved. We're going to jump into the game in just under a minute, so stay tuned for the meantime. What I do want to raise here, Rusty, as we do get ourselves ready to jump back into Game 2, is some interesting facts. The fact that this is going to be another game of Akali here played by Claire. It's only a second game. The entirety of this year, traditionally speaking, it has been Tien. He's played 6 games with an 80% win rate on that Akali. So he was the go-to so far, but it seems to be almost the evolution of Claire to say that I can pick up that roster, I can play the physical bruises in mid lane, bit Renekton and set. I want to make sure there's a lot of flexibility if we do want to try and play through that top side of our draft.
That's a good point, because that evolution of Claire actually was playing the bruises, right? He is the Akali style player who has since innovated and played these other things, right? He comes into this season, was a phenomenal Syndra, Orianna, mid lane mage player. Suddenly he's playing tanks. Now he's back to assassins. He's proving his worth as an all-rounder for the mid lane of the Chiefs, and helps their drafting immensely if he's able to do things like this.
Certainly does, but on the flip side of that, if we're highlighting members to look out for, it is Hayri, and he's played 10 games all year long as the Azir, his second most played of the season. 10 games and 80% win rate, and in the form he's in right now, you'd be quite terrified knowing that kind of, I suppose, statistic going into this match.
Croc about to face, check, Renekton holds.
Certainly is. Swiper's going to say, well, I want to go for this fight right now. Only's going to pay the price and fall on down ultimately. Can it do a trade for the junglers? They most certainly can. Swiper slicing and dicing, making mincemeat of that target. And now, without those cooldowns, does not have enough life leech to survive. Gets put to sleep and lights out for him. It's going to be a fight and a favourable skirmish here for the Chiefs.
I mean, it was a face check from Croc, sure, but he stops his face check at the last second. They use a pillar, they ult, and they flash in to take the fight. But at the same time, you know, Chiefs were not going to back away from that one. Claire was prepared for this skirmish in the first place. He sees the Renekton moving. So they know full well that something could be up. Sweeper shows Trundle, and they choose their target. E connects from the Akali, and is as you like, they commit to that one. And now just because they're missing damage here, Swiper has to commit himself fully to the kill. That's flash, slice and dice, and his ultimate used for this one. And they'll make sure that Tien, of course, gets the follow-up here. He commits the ultimate, he rotates, they'll make sure he gets some money for it.
And the fight being in a much more advantageous position for Tien to respond to. You could see that Harry was, you know, ready and waiting to jump in and form some influence as well, but based on his positioning in the river, wasn't really able to contribute much to prevent Swiper from falling down, or at least finding a trade that went even on their side. So at the 8-minute mark, it is the Chiefs that find themselves at 3 kills to 1 with a 1k lead at just that. And with these ADCs having gone for the tier build, it could prove to be vital in their ability to not only snowball their damage, but their ability to group up and contribute more success.
Absolutely. Of course, you've got a 10 CS difference in top lane that has been equalized and bested a little bit by the kill. The kill being worth about 15 to 17 minions in general. And with those tier stacking bottom laners, you would expect a lot of inactivity down there in a 2v2, but this is where once again junglers come into play, because you've got a lot of kill threat, especially
Max
when
range
CC
on the
can be
roots.
sacked like that.
Yeah. It's deceivingly long, the CC that both the Senna and Lux possess. You think you're safe, you think you don't need to commit that flash or sidestep it away, but Braum forced to put up that shield at the last possible moment.
Very annoying to deal with. Of course, when there's inactivity in that bottom lane, it should mean that you've got a Senna and a Lux being able to threaten and push in if possible. And if there's a minion wave, Braum's life is a lot more difficult. But if there's a minion wave and a jungler nearby, you can jump to those minions and look for engages. So that's really the difference maker there. Croc focusing objectives on vision, by the way. Full confidence.
Full confidence indeed, and as is the nature of these two teams, Water once again will get themselves the first Dragon, but Chiefs will respond by picking up the first Herald. We'll get to see if they do decide to show some attention towards the top side, given the fact that they are going into Harry, and we might see just that as Tien puts him to sleep. Emperor's Divide was used, but it does very little, as he'll be forced to burn that flash away to respond to what was Croc, ready to take him out in a 1v1.
Going to shield himself out here as well. Not going to take too much damage from that one at the end of the day. Nice little victory there from the Chiefs, and Only's going to have to be stuck dealing with the waivers. Hang on.
He's in trouble. He's gone for the ramp up there with a true shot barrage. Now Ketsu going to flash and fall. Go for 1, go for 2. Look for the kill and take him on out. There's the overkill. Laser into laser. Do it all. Ray's gone, and the fight continues, however, top side. They're not done by the fact that Harry was forced to burn Summoners and Ultimate. No, they want more. Here comes Clear, and Tien, he's low. He had a flash, but he had no time to execute upon it, and as that smoke bomb expires, so does Claire's life bar. Order are angry, they're aggressive, and they show up top lane, and they punish effectively.
Yeah, fantastic play through top lane, and unfortunately for the side of Order, the rare curse continues. He is in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe trying to ult a minion waving, gets punished by Dragku with a fantastic binding. That's the difference maker. That was just a good play from Order, taking down the top side of the map here from the Chiefs. But unfortunately for them, a mistake on the bottom side costs them a trade. So at the end of the day, it is not too bad here from the Chiefs. They retain a pretty big lead. You'll see it was the Herald charging into top lane that starts a lot of this, and Ayla literally on the other side of the map, fighting as Rare dies. Claire's going to come through the turret here, and I think he actually ults and cancels his E a little bit too early and doesn't cover the maximum distance, but Braum's able to block the passive on everybody here. and legitimately just a Braum passive is the difference in that fight.
Certainly was, and the cross-map play in the end ultimately pays off there for Order. The fact that Ayla had to leave his AD carry vulnerable and ultimately picked apart does get undone by the fact that they're able to find a lot of success topside and also burn through some flashes as well.
Drake going to be started here. Croc once again looking to command some objective control. He soloed out the Herald. Now he's moving to the Infernal. Doesn't look like there'll be any contest. No Ezreal ultimate being used just yet. There it goes.
It's close again, wasn't it? And then he managed to snag it away, but the smite difference is obviously invaluable, as the jungler should no doubtedly be ready and waiting for. 1-1 here at the 12-minute mark, as that'll be the first Dragon that decides what soul we will be playing for. And it couldn't be a better one, really, as an Order fan, no doubt, with a Mountain Soul to play for, the amount of resistances and tanky boys they really have as their composition. This is something that we highlighted in the draft and something that we thought that could be a weakness here for the Chiefs, the fact that they really only have that true tank in the volley there. But it's going to be a Trundle looking to ult him on cooldown.
Also the soul itself, right? Not just the resistances that come from the Mountain Drakes against a lot of burst players here. You've got the Lux Burst and Akali. So it's going to do wonders against them if you're able to get that extra shielding. Let alone the resistances, of course, that come with that one. 3 members of Order right now on the top side of the Rift going to be deterred by the Chiefs responding. And bottom lane, once again, is just this hotbed of potential action. But we're not really seeing too much attention from anyone else down here. So in this purely isolated lane, I mean, Rare's been farming well. He's been doing a perfectly fine job barring the death.
Certainly has. No doubt be keen to pick up some more solo XP if Ayla continues to go roaming and find success elsewhere on the map. And despite them having opted for that tier build, they're going to continue to look for desirable trades that work in their way and not only find themselves CS advantages, but potential health advantages. If we now pay attention to the top side, it's where Claire died before, and it's where Claire looks to engage again. Swiper does not want to fall victim to that exchange, and will pop his ultimate to respond.
Has got some lifesteal and once again the fleet footwork in his build here, Claire, so as long as he's enabled to hit minions, will be able to get himself back up to full HP. It's also now just an ultimate in advantage for Claire. Wasn't used in that skirmish at all. Mid.
Yeah, mid is where it's at right now. Dawning Shadow goes across, but that's a stopwatch. Buys a little bit more time here for Only. What can they do? There's the Stormbringer. Harry might have just got away. Tien's running. He's charging, but he might just die to the turret, and he most certainly will. Right place, right time. Stopwatch is insane. And what looked like a very easy kill there for the Chiefs becomes a lot messier than they were hoping for, as both junglers continue to run rampant through this jungle. And it's not going to be done just like that. No, they want more. They'll find one. Rhett actually continuously rotating through bot lane to mid. Dragu down a spot above it. He's forced to burn that flash very early on, but a stun connects. He's in trouble. What can Claire do? It's absolute carnage. It's chaos. It's destruction. It's damn right damage. Everybody getting in on it. Everybody getting golds. And the gold at 14 minutes is back to dead even.
Yeah, Claire comes up with the goods to continue to trade for them, but Order ultimately with a significantly better trade through that skirmish. Katsuri also going to be unseen on the opposite side of the map to the skirmishers. Draco unfortunately gets caught out of position, the backside of that one, looking to try and help his team out, but Croc was dead to rights. The mistake was made through the dive, trying to just get that kill as desperately as they possibly could. But they're not tanky at all. Unfortunately, and Tian being the one to continue that dive. We'll see how this starts again. It was a cute flash here from Tian. Puts in a sleep, wastes the Azir ultimate, and a good flash. But the Zonias buys enough time. And then they kind of space themselves to the right of Hayri. They don't stay in between him and potential safety. And so he's just able to dash himself out as far as he possibly could. Gets under the turret. Tian trades for this Croc with no flash. Does actually use his smite on Only, not the red buff, so looking to distance himself. And realizes he is dead because there was a second person on the flank. And Dragu finds himself a Braum. And a minion wave. Actually, the chickens kind of saved Dragu's life a little bit more here as well, as Rare just throws Qs on that. And actually cost his life a little bit here, Rare, as well. Because Claire, big mechanic.
Certainly was big mechanics, and one that was forced once again there by the fact that Order went for the rotation, had the inline track to catch out what was a Dragu that arrived to the scene of the crime first. But one of the biggest benefactors has to be the fact that Katsuri just completely nullified what was a big CS advantage against him by staying pretty in that bottom lane and achieving some turret plates as well.
And terms of 5v5s here as well, I think I would still rather be Order's composition, even with a 1 and 3 Ezreal. And I speak about this a little bit too often, to be honest, but I'll say it again because we may have new viewers. Ezreal's item spike's incredibly cheap. So even if he falls behind, as long as he's farming decently well, he'll still have the item spike at a pretty good time. And one difference between the Senna and the Ezreal is the timing of that Muramana. As, my god, Croc wants this.
Yeah, Croc definitely wants it. There's the laser and there's the second. You can run, but you definitely can't hide. And this is the epitome of a ranged bot lane duo. From 1,000 kilometers away, they'll still manage to take you down. And that was Croc, a man on a mission that did not take no for an answer.
I really didn't think he would commit that hard, but he's got the reinforcements, a lot of damage there, so they're able to net themselves the kill. Tien now just looking in mid lane because the reinforcements are here. Herald will get a charge off, but they're fighting.
And Empress Divide buys a little bit of extra time by forcing Chiefs to have to rotate through it. Running into the enemy jungle right now. Clear is looking for that opportunity to try and take somebody out. Binding will not connect, and the opportunity to put somebody to sleep. That opportunity has passed now. Swipe will take good opportunity by going topside and just crashing that wave. And Important timing, because the third dragon has just spawned here, Rusty.
Yeah, Swiper gets the top lane turret. Herald is going to charge mid, but that does mean most likely going to need to reset. And like you mentioned, Drake should just be free. Also, look at the vision control Chiefs have. You know, they break the bot lane turret, and in the process of walking through red side jungle, just littered with wards. There is zero worlds where Order can test this, barring an Ezreal ultimate to steal it. He's been trying, he's been pretty close a few times, but hasn't been able to do it just yet. He's not even going to throw it this time. No chance at all.
So you mentioned before, despite what is looking not the, well, a rather grim KDA so far for the Ezreal, does have a cheaper item build, does still have the ability, you'd say, to be the quickest of all of the tier stackers to try and hit that power spike and potentially find a fight that still works in their way. Senna going to be a little bit slower in achieving that sort of same level of success due to the cooldown reduction that Ezreal's kit possesses. So I think despite you know, being 1 and 4 right now, still can offer a fair bit to the team, as we've seen the link up between himself and Ayla. Proves to be invaluable for just locking these key targets down.
Exactly, Skibby. That was what I was going to say before the Chiefs just went super aggressive and continued to dive rare and make sure the point was just stupid and pointless at that exact moment. But you're correct. He will have the Muramana faster than the Senna 99% of the time in a game of League of Legends. And the cost efficiency of getting a Muramana and an Iceborne Gauntlet just makes your life easy. Now, Senna does still have cheap itemization with the Dustblade, but it's the spiking on Muramana that is one major point of difference between both of them right now. As you can see, 18 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock. It is fully stacked, and he's strong.
It's CC train 1 and 2. Chiefs looking to lock down a key target, but it is going to be the Brahmin. That's not the one they're after right now. Croc ascends to the sky and slams dunk down. Out come the lasers, but here the flashes, they disengage the target acquisition. Here comes Harry, there's locked in place Striker, he's gone. There's the true shot branch, here's the Dawning Shadow. Everybody popping lasers and hoping that somebody falls on down. But Swiper on the flank keeps in place too. And Red, despite being so far behind at 1-4, is now 4-4.
And just like that, Order picked the teamfight timing. They get the Muramana, they get a triple kill onto Rare, and suddenly any kind of bot difference is completely removed from the game. And now they're just ahead. And Order looking to potentially run away with this one from that fight alone. Try as they might on the side of the Chiefs. It is just so difficult to skirmish against the Order 5v5, and Braum Diff is just monstrous.
We mentioned it only moments before that, and we see it right there. He gets himself a triple kill. Absolutely destructive.
Yeah, we'll see this once again. Volley Bear looking to flash it on this one. Dragu also flashing forwards. All of this just to try and get damage down. But they're the ones losing this skirmish. Claire buys a lot of time sitting in the Shroud, but not actually doing damage because of the risk. And Tien also, you know, flashing in aggressively, trying to put everyone to sleep. But during all of this time, you know, it wasn't an instant 5v5. Not everyone was there from the side of the Chiefs at the start of that fight. And Order's damage was high enough that they punished everyone as they trickled in one at a time to try and help each other.
Durability factor there for Order. They've got the tanks, they've got the bruisers, they've got the ability to stick around in those kind of fights and flourish as a result of. We said before that Chiefs have a composition that squishy by definition, but definitely can find kills quickly. And as you saw the pixels fly across your screen there, the durability factor was just too much for him to try and get through, and Rare was in such a comfortable position just to continue to throw skill shots across that wall. completely even out those odds. And what we thought was going to be a very cheap item build based on the projection of this game with the 1-4. No, he says, forget that. I'm going to go for a Trinity Force.
A little bit more expensive now. So valuing the damage and the movement speed, of course, instead of going for the slows. They're going to cop a little bit of damage here and there, but at the same time, so his damage is a lot higher right now. And the loss of the Iceborne Gauntlet does mean that someone like a Volley Bear can get on people a lot easier. Someone like a Lilia can still be able to close distance pretty successfully as well. It does mean that they're not going to be able to get onto Rare nearly as easy.
Order on the hunt right now. They're going to force out the ultimate from Volley Bear. He's going to turn around and see if he can try and bait members into the CC, but no, they're not going to fall victim to that one. A little bit early for this Dragon. It's up in 60 seconds, but there is a tower for them to take on down, and Claire has to be very careful right now because he's going to get actually pinched upon. A full-man collapse has been threatened so far. Glacier Fish goes out. He used the smoke bomb and used the ultimate to disengage away, and that is the beauty of Akali. Very difficult to lock down.
Yeah, I mean, brilliantly played from Claire to survive, but unfortunately for him, he was in the position to need to pull out the Houdiniac to get himself to safety. The bottom lane turret is just inevitably going to drop here as well. It was just a trade from the Chiefs in the end, but they get a Volley Bear ultimate, they get an Akali ultimate for the cost of that trade. Order now with a lot of initiative to be able to run around the Rift. You've got Drake in 20 seconds. Difficult to challenge that one without a Volley Bear and an Akali ultimate. So it should just be a free objective to Order.
Certainly should be. And they are putting on pressure well ahead of the clock and making sure that they are in the right place at the right time. And that pressure compounds further and further, as this could mean that we're tied 2-2 on the Dragon score sheet. It'll be interesting to see what Chiefs decide to do, because Swipe is continuing the pressure in their side lane by pushing through top. Has a teleport to respond.
You're looking at Tia. You know, one of the biggest difference makers we've seen is Croc is once again just going to cop a beating. May survive, we'll see.
See for Lux Shield. Has this been subjugated, so very squishy is he at this stage. As Claire pokes his head into the river, there's a teleport committed. Order asserting their authority on this map and saying, this Dragon you cannot contest.
Yeah, and once again, we had to look at the difference maker of potentially a bowling ball thrown out from Tien. He's not going to find anything there as... Whoa! Forcing mid-turret. They might get caught. They have to be careful. Chiefs are forcing the ticket here. They really want to force something. Keep trades happening if they can. But they're pretty afraid of fighting 5v5. So the closest proximity turret just seems like a sneak it if we can. They'll be happy they got out alive.
Certainly will be. They'll be angry at the same time because they were looking for something so aggressively in mid lane because they just lost so much topside. That is the strength there of Swiper prepping it, coming in with the teleport and just making them lose more and more gold and making sure that despite it being 2k in all favor, they want it to be more, and they might find more, as that ultimate for the second time in a row now has just been used to disengage away.
Just caught catching for wards. Just needs to not be there realistically. Wait for his team. They're dealing with a minion wave way back. They have no priority in that middle lane, so that's exactly what can happen here. Nice little punish from Swiper, not using his flash either, just standing and flanking. They force another Volley Bear ultimate. Unfortunately for Croc, he has not had an opportunity to be proactive at all right now, just struggling to get onto the Rift and be super active. Now, does have the Warmogs, right? So if he's able to actually stand in front of a team fight, get himself out alive with low HP, very relevant for staying power on the map. But because he has no resistances as well and keeps getting caught out of position with that ultimate, he's really not being able to utilize his itemization choices here at all either. He's just squishy, it seems.
It feels that way right now, and they don't really have much map control. The fact that a Volley Bear's been bullied out by just going into a brush. Being told, nope, you're not allowed here. Is a bit of a cause for concern at this stage, as the boys of Order are flourishing in this process of elimination of where could you be. Well, we know exactly where you could be because you don't have any wards on the map to be anywhere that we can't see you. They're going to go through mid lane once again. They'll continue to try to get the CC. See if they can find a pick target of somebody maybe from the side of Order being a little bit too overzealous.
I think maybe the most important factor here for the Chiefs, if they want to 5v5 at all, is probably to be set up first. You know, you probably want to have the center and the Lux working together, Lilia even there as well, to be able to lock someone down, do your damage where it's available. Because I feel like if Order is set up first, there's just zero chances that you're going to be able to walk into them at all. We saw the zone defense effectively here from Order for last Drake. Once again, going to happen on Croc's head, and he's not going to ult this time because it's on cooldown. May have considered that one.
Blaze goes out, takes down 2, looks to pad their health bars a little bit, but Swiper's pushing topside, successful in his attempts at just that as he's taken down the tier 2 as a result. The Chiefs are grouped up, they've sent Clear to the bottom lane for a second, but he's now teleported in through mid. But that Braum passive just continues to be a thorn in their backside.
Tien and Only just going to duke it out here in the jungle as well, but Swiper with top lane priority, and you can see that wave the Chiefs are missing by being here in the first place. Tien also caught.
Tien's in a lot of trouble right now, goes for the lullaby, out comes the Dueling Shadow, goes damage against mitigation, he goes for stopwatch, Khalil looking for that kill right now, he's looking to try and lock people in place, smoke bombs there, Swiper's being rude, he disengaged to the safety of his team, Croc's on the flank, here comes the Stormbringer, but he's just not taking enough! That bonus HP was lost with a heartbeat. Only is clean. Flashes out of the center route. And Claire looking to try and take down anybody that's low. They're all 25% and lower. They're flashing, they're dashing. They're hoping for a dream. But they sidestep the Lux Laser. But the CC is just so rampant. And Senna thinks they've got to kill onto this Trundle. But Reyes says, hang on a minute, I've got a Trinity Force. You can't step forward. Oh, they're so damn clean on their kiting.
Desperation there from the Chiefs, just hunting as far as they possibly can for kills. They're not going to be able to find too much at all. It was just the initial under Swiper. The punish is huge here from the side of Order. Rare literally one-tapping Katsuri as he overreaches, just desperately hunting for something else. And now they're going to teleport into the Baron, Skimmy. And this may just be insurmountable for the Chiefs if this is secured. And a good smite makes sure that it is.
Baron is secured. A successful teamfight position of power here for Order right now. At the 28-minute mark, they're up by 4k. That's going to balloon even further right now. And they've got so many opportunities based on this man here. He's pushed in topside. He's ensured that there's a potential open inhibitor for them to play around with in these next couple of minutes. But let's just see how this fight all starts off.
Tien's going to have to use his ultimate at the very start here to know that he's not going to be caught out of position. Senna also going to use the ultimate at the start of this fight. Tien basically just dead to rights. He's going to flash out and get healed as well from Katsuri. Think of all the things we just named that were used. Croc just going to have an int on the flank as well, maybe thinking he's a tank, but he only has health, so he dies. This is the point where Chiefs maybe have an eye in on an opportunity, maybe have an eye in on a kill. As long as Katsuri is free to auto, Draku with a flash binding helps, but it's not going to do anything against the million tenacity that exists, and this is the overreach, you know? Just straight into a place where they have no vision, even with the flash available, just gets popped in half a second. No reaction time even possible with how quick Rare takes him down.
So many mechanics on display there. The ability to part the waters, if you will, and sidestep out those crucial CC abilities, the damage to follow things up with. Just a burst. Absurd in its nature was that Ezreal when he did overreach. But the pressure continues. This is what a ban buff gives you. It gives you the ability to push your opponent back to their base and say that an inhib is what we're after, and an inhib is what we're looking to take down.
And they should be able to break the base here, you would expect. You know, what can a Lux do in this position with no damage really backing up any kind of bindings that connect? As long as Braum's standing in front of the pack, they're pretty safe. There is always going to be the Tien risk. Of course, he's only 15, not 16, so it's not going to be a 3-second sleep for everyone he hits. But just throwing out those E's, looking to lock people down as he goes bowling down mid lane. Something that does a lot for deterring Order's push. But right now, it's a matter of time, right? If no one goes bot, these cannons are just going to take turrets.
They are pushing Chiefs further and further back into the base. The Azir turret summon mid, make sure that that mid wave keeps prepped and keeps aligned with what this Renekton is poised in his bottom side right now. They're going to go for a 3-man collapse. Down comes the redemption. That's being prepped by Ayla, ensuring that he stays as protected as possible. The two-shot barrage goes across, and just like that, Freeman's the Chiefs are forced to zone themselves away. Claire's looking for an execution. He gets stunned, he gets shoved, and he gets pushed to the sides. He can't do much this one. 5v4, Croc goes diving, but diving further and further back to the safety of that fountain. Order with a few seconds remaining on this Baron buff. They want to end this game. They'll take down one Nexus turret. They're looking for a second. They've got to be careful though. Their kiting has been flawless. If they can find more CC, if they can find more damage, another kill would work wonders for them right now. They nearly found their second as Croc is low. Tiena's on the flank. He doesn't have a lullaby. They actually have no ultimates, Rusty, right now. That's the second turret. The Nexus is exposed. Order are going to bring this to a game number 3, and Order are 2-0.
Yeah, they bring themselves to match points. Give me one more win away from facing Legacy in the OPL finals next week. And an absolute clinic coming out of the boys from Melbourne here. To be honest, they just read the Chiefs They play their composition out brilliantly. They don't give a single in to the Chiefs roster, who were just trying to force desperately and constantly, you know. Maybe a single person, a lapse of judgment here from the side of Order. They get some kills. They put themselves onto the board. But not going to happen in this game. Very well played by Order.
Certainly was a few moments in the game, a few moments of cause for concern as an Order fan, as you saw Rare fall so far behind, caught out on a 1v2, caught out in a position where his team had rotated elsewhere, but just that one big team fight. He picks up a triple, immediately brings himself back into the fold of things and says, you know what, forget the Iceborne Gauntlet, I want damage, and for good reason too. And as we jump into the break, it is Order, they're on 2, the Chiefs, they're at 0.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got this! It's deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.